You are listening to Unleash Your Creativity with Omashola, where creativity is showcased in its many dimensions. A time to celebrate, empower, inspire, and equip creatives with thought-provoking interviews and up-to-date information. You are listening to Unleash Your Creativity with Omashola, showcasing creativity in its many dimensions.
Hello and welcome to Unleash Your Creativity with Omashola, the show that is all about creativity. We breathe it, we live it, we celebrate it, we engage with it. It is all about creativity. It's where your passion, your craft, your skill, your hobby, your imagination is let loose. Today is another day. And I always do that introduction for people who don't know what the show is about and they just stumble on. This is what it's about. It's a platform where we give people that opportunity to share their story. Now, if you have not been following me, you can do that right now on at the Place of Excellence. Today I am, you know what, people that listen to my show will say I'm always excited. I am, because it's a place I can be me. And today I have a very special guest with me. Her creativity redefines for me creativity. I'm going to say something. I said she's a person that has allowed other people to enter into a different world. She herself enters into a different world and legally allows different people express themselves in various ways. I guess you're wondering what that is. Somebody that can express themselves in different ways, can be different people at different times, can be in different places, can do different things. They can be young today, they can be old tomorrow. I think you're wondering, is this a superwoman? Yes, she is. She is an actress. However, what makes her even more special is that she speaks 4 different languages and 1 on the way. She was a corporate lawyer and then was scouted online for a TV show, and everything changed. She has since then been evolving, transitioning, and I'm going to spend this 1 hour trying to do less talking and let her tell us all about her. Now, as always, I introduce 2 words to the show. Actually 1, but today I had no choice but to look for 2 because I couldn't stick to 1. So today's words are going to be about transition and discovery. Through our conversation, we're going to be unpacking that. It's at this point I am going to introduce my guest in the person of Yasmine. Could you pronounce your surname for me, please?
Yasmine Alice, like Alice in Wonderland.
Didn't want to get that wrong because it was spelled a little bit different. You are welcome to the show. You can tell I've got energy and I'm very, very excited. And again, I'm also excited because you're on the hot seat. The first time we met, you put me on the hot seat. So it is my turn to do just that. But I know we're going to have fun together. Now, I believe you're one person that defines transition and evolving in multiple ways, some by design and some by choice. So I'm going to look at design first because that means you had no control over it. You have a very rich heritage, a blend of different countries and cultures. You speak 4 different languages. My question is, can you expand on that? What has that done? Give us a little flavor because I want my listeners to have a little insight to who you are through those different blends that you have.
So we're talking about the languages now?
Yes, we're talking about the language, talking about your heritage. You come from, you have a mixed heritage. So all of that blend together. I want to know whether any of that has anything to do with the multiple languages you have, or this is just something of interest.
So I was born and bred in Istanbul, Turkey. My mum is Turkish and my dad is Kurdish. And when I was, I don't know, like in my early 20s, I decided to do a DNA test and found out that I'm actually majority Iranian Persian ethnically, 65%, which is probably where the Kurdishness comes from. A very small percentage Turkish, and a very small percentage also Native American, which was a shock to me. I have no idea where the Native Americanness comes from, but when my mum had the DNA test, she wasn't Native American at all. And when I look at my dad, he's a bit red-skinned, so I can see where it comes from, kind of. So yeah, I'm a mix of races and I pick up languages really quickly. I don't have a lot of talent for many things, but languages is one thing that I excel at. I don't know why. So I've learned French in school, German in school and university, and then I'm learning Spanish right now. But whatever country I visit, I tend to just pick up the language really quickly. I'm learning Spanish on Duolingo, and I've studied it for 2 months and went to Mexico, and I was just chatting with the locals.
Wow, you don't want to hear my language story. I was in a place for a whole year. I left the same way I came.
Oh, Lord.
With no language, yes. How has these languages served you? Just learning them must do something really rich for you. How has they served you?
For example, with French, I'm obsessed with Senegalese music, and I love the soul and the energy that goes into Senegalese culture. So had I not been able to speak French, I wouldn't be able to understand that culture. I've never been to Senegal, but I feel like I know them through music. And the same goes with German. I think I lived in Germany for 1 year. I studied German literature and law together in university. That obviously added a whole new aspect into my life and a point of view of how German people look at world. And then English, obviously, I'm looking at the American culture and the British culture. And then my Kurdish is very basic. So unfortunately, I don't have a very good understanding of my own culture. So we look at how the lack of language skills is stealing from my understanding of a culture, even though ethnically I am Kurdish.
And I do relate to that, having children who are born in this country, and you tend not to speak your language, and then that gets lost in the process. But you've made up so well with understanding and capturing other languages. I'm going to move swiftly on to you being a professional. As you mentioned that you studied law and you worked as a corporate lawyer for a couple of years. What was that journey like? And I wanted to link that with the German, because you studied it with German. Actually, I'm going to read this out, which is part of what you said in your bio. You said, indicate that you studied LLB with German at the University of Sussex. Then you did German law at another university. And I said, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. I'm going to leave you to pronounce. And then you completed your legal practice course at the University of Law in Bloomsbury. So when you went into law and you did German, did any of that serve you as a corporate lawyer?
I'm not really sure, to be honest. One of the biggest things that I regret in my whole entire life, and I always say that, I never regret things that I haven't done, but this one thing I regret. I had an internship offer with the European Court of Human Rights, and I didn't take it. I was like, you know what? I should stay in London. I should try and get a training contract and become a lawyer. I could have gone and tried to become a human rights advocate, but I didn't take that chance. And if I were to go there, I would have used my German, I would have used my French. Whereas in London, you don't particularly need it in the corporate legal world, the German, because all the Germans that move to England speak English. Even the Germans in Germany speak English. The education level in Germany is really high. So majority of the Germans will speak that second or third language. In that sense, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. That's quite interesting. But as a corporate lawyer, what were your highs? What were your highlights during that period as a lawyer generally, just to have a feel?
Yeah. So I graduated and went straight into working as a claims handler. So I was doing loads of road traffic accidents and cases where you get compensation for the victim. Then I moved on to media law, and I worked on a massive lawsuit for Andrew Mitchell. This was a huge case that was all over the news, which we refer to as the Plebgate case. I was the junior lawyer on that. And then I found my passion and the area that I want to specialize in, which is immigration law. And being able to speak multiple languages, and especially Turkish, helped a lot with immigration law, because we have a lot of Turkish immigrants or Turkish speaking immigrants in the country. Now, I was a good lawyer because I was a nerd and I was very concentrated, which I am always with everything. But I wasn't passionate. There was always something missing. That's why I wanted to transition into something else.
And we're going to talk about that something else, because I think that helps me to understand a little bit. So I'm going to let people just reflect on what's been spoken, and then they're going to see a totally different side of you, which excites me and which is how I've seen you. And that is the acting.
You are listening to Unleash Your Creativity with Omashola, showcasing creativity in its many dimensions.
I'm in in the studio with Yasmine, a woman of multiple talents, a woman who speaks 4 different languages. She's been a corporate lawyer, and now is the part that really interests me. She said she was scouted online, which led to working as a news correspondent, airing on a popular TV network, TV8, twice a week, reporting from London, filmed numerous documentaries, and reported for many channels such as Amnesty International to BBC. How does a corporate lawyer transition and get scouted for TV? And what was your first reaction to that?
I have a very cute story about this, actually.
Loving it. Go for it.
I think normally with TV reporters, there's a different journey that is being followed. You rather go and study reporting and you get your qualifications, or you want to be a presenter. Loads of people try and get showreels and work really hard. I didn't have that journey. Mine was pure luck. I was in Westfield shopping with my mom, and Sky had a pop-up store, and they had a teleprompter and a place with a green screen where you stand in front of and do a bit of mock presenting. And I was like, oh, this looks fun. Let me just try it. And then what they did was they would film it and send it to you with all the Sky logos in the background. And then you would post it on social media pretending that you're a TV presenter. I did that and they sent it to me and I posted it. And literally, I kid you not, all of my family members and friends were like, oh my God, Yasmine, did you become a TV presenter? And my mom was like, Yasmine, you're so good at this. And I was like, no, it's just a joke. This was just in the shopping center. It was like a pretend thing. Then I was online and I was looking at random things and an ad popped up. This advertisement stated that if I were to join this competition, that I could win a free TV presenting class. I was like, okay, let me just join this. This is a bit weird that it popped up in my Google ads, but I clicked on it. And this Pinewood Studios course was focusing on ethnic minorities. And I thought, okay, I'm an ethnic minority. I'm an immigrant in this country. I probably have a chance. I applied and I won the competition. So then I was invited to Pinewood Studios with this BBC presenter to do a 2-day course in learning how to become a TV presenter. I did that. And then we did this little show reel in front of a green screen. I was pretending and interviewing people, blah, blah, blah, in front of the camera. And then at the end of the course, the gentleman who was a former BBC presenter, news anchor, pulled me to one side and he said, Yasmine, look, I don't do this very often to people because a lot of people join these courses. But I just wanted to say that you have a special talent for this. Like, really? What? Like, is he saying this to everyone else? Or is it just me? Then I went online and I found myself a course where I can pay someone to give me a show reel, teach me more specific skills. It was a 1-week long course that I did. It was like private lessons with various news anchors. And at the end of it, I got myself a show reel out of it. And then I posted it on social media. I posted it on Instagram and Facebook. And within 2 months' time, I had an executive producer from TV8, which is one of the biggest TV networks that we have in Turkey, contact me and say, hey, look, we're doing this new TV program. Would you be interested in working with us as a TV reporter? And I was like, I have a full-time job, but you know what? All right, let's do this. Let me try. So I went to the Costa to get a cup of coffee with these executives and they were like, oh, can you present? Have you done this before? I'm like, no, I've never done this before, but all right, cool. Let's give it a go. And all of a sudden I had a poster. I had my own TV show and I was on TV for twice a week.
That is almost, I've got goosebumps, you know, that is almost like a fairy tale story. And I mean, on the back of that, I perceived 2 things went on there. You discovered they discovered you, and you discovered yourself.
Yeah.
What was going on with you? I mean, after all this doom, what did that do for you as a person?
It wasn't an easy journey though, Shola. I have to be very honest with you. It wasn't all hearts and butterflies and rainbows. So I started TV reporting. Obviously, I was nervous. I wasn't as good as I am today. I worked with brilliant executive producers and people that I've become friends with over the years. But I had a camera operator who was a bit of a bully and made me cry a lot. And then because I was on Turkish TV, I had a lot of people that made fun of me. They were like, you sound like a tranny. Your voice is disgusting. How did you land that job? And this and this and this. So me coming from a corporate lawyer background, never ever having any social media following, all of a sudden I was in a place where I was the victim of mockery and abuse and bullying. And I just wasn't as confident as I was as a lawyer. It took many, many years to to get to where I am today. If I'm reporting today, I am the boss. The camera operator is not. And it takes courage. It takes finding your voice as a woman and not being referred to as aggressive, but as a boss and as a professional. It takes many, many years to get to where I am today.
That is very encouraging. And I'm glad I asked that question. And I like the honesty, because sometimes we did say yes, everything just happened.
Like a fairy
there was
tale.
a lock, like a fairy tale. And I think that was where you really discovered yourself, to say, was this just a thing that happened, or is it really me? So I really think along that journey that you did really discover you in a different light and in a different way. What amazing. And you've answered the fact that I wanted to find out what challenges were there that happened. But I'm going to do a slight shift, because you were in a series, and you did film documentary. Was there similarities? What was that journey like? And how again did you transition from where you were then as a reporter into this?
Okay, this also has a very cute story. So
I'm loving the cute stories.
I know. So I was working part-time. I quit my job as a full-time lawyer, started working part-time as a TV reporter. And then I saw an ad, again, me being online, for evening classes for acting. And I thought, you know what? Acting, I'm not going to give it too much of a, serious outlook on this. I'm just going to go there for fun. And then I started taking these evening classes, and I was in this class, and I remember there was a teacher, an acting coach, and he looked at me and he said, "You will never be a leading star. You don't have the face for commercials.
Wow.
You're not going to be a lead actor. You don't have what it takes. You don't even have the talent for it." And I remember thinking, and I still remember his lines every time I get a leading offer. I remember those things he said. I was like, but now I can look at it in a different perspective. I'm like, what kind of a sad and failed actor he must have been to have said that to me, who's just giving this a go as a hobby. Now, back in the day, I saw an ad for a TV series and I applied, and they were looking for a Turkish speaking actress. Now, this TV series is Red Dwarf, which is a TV series which is huge in the UK. This is cult classic sci-fi comedy, British comedy. I auditioned, and I remember being in front of the casting director and going, "Okay, cool. So did I get the part yet?" And she's like, "No, we have to audition other people." I'm like, "Oh, okay. I'll probably get the part though." Like, I was so cocky. I didn't know how the audition process was happening, but because of my cockiness and my naivety, I actually booked the part. So
wow.
I booked the part, and I was, being driven with a private chauffeur on to Pinewood Studios again. Pinewood Studios is where I was on set, and I saw Chris Barry. He welcomed me on set, and he was like, "Good morning, Yasmine." I'm like, oh my God, he knows my name. What? And then they showed me to my room, and my room, I remember filming the whole thing, because on the door, I had my name. My name on the door. I was like, I have my own sofa. I have my own fridge. What is this? What is this life? I'm loving it. I'm just going to be an actor after this. I can't let this go. This is fantastic. I was on the film set just staring at everything in awe. I was like, oh my God, there's cameras, there's, set design, there's people screaming action and cut. I'm like, wow, this is the best day of my life. I've never been so ecstatic in my whole entire life. I had goosebumps every day, all day, just staring at everything. We did a table read. There was all these A-listers and all these people that I've seen on TV, and they respected me as their equal. I was like, this is the life that I've always dreamt of. This is the excitement I want to feel every single day of my life. And then at that day, that moment, I decided I'm going to become an actress. I don't care what this acting coach says. I am going to be that person.
What an amazing story. And I'm picking up from there, using the word transition. Your mind did a transition, and your mind made up its mind to say, this play of words. This is it for me, and I am going to take it to the highest level. And you said something there that I can relate to just a little bit, because, which we'll talk about in more detail later, I was in awe being on set when you were filming. I was reliving what I used to see on movies. In the movies, they would be showing you sets, somebody preparing within a film. And I was like, I'm here. I'm actually on a set. I'm actually with people. I'm actually seeing the official cut. being done. Take 1, take 2, 2.3. I was like, honestly, if I was videoed, you could see. So you telling me that made me feel, okay, it is part of the process. But I'm not sure I'll be thinking about doing any acting, that extra passion. But she's looking at me going, you never know. That's the beauty of radio. I can see how you can't. But she's giving me that look that you never know.
Yeah, you never know.
You know, well, I did get an extra. I got a bit on the set. So that's the beginning. And I really want my listeners, because the thing is, it's about hearing your story, but what are listeners taking away from it? That listeners should not allow, number one, not allow anybody to stop their dreams. Number two, we should not stop our dreams, and we should actually act upon it, because that's what I hear. Yes, things popped up, but you took action. And I think that is a real good nugget for our listeners to take on board, that don't let chance just pass you by when those opportunities come to you. I just wanted to, again, do some name dropping. You did some documentaries for Amnesty, BBC. What was that like? Because again, that's not acting. That's a different hat.
So I'll correct that. So with Amnesty International, I've done reporting.
Okay.
And you can watch that on YouTube. With BBC, I've done their training videos. I haven't done a documentary, just in case people Google it and get mad at me. I've done loads of documentaries that I have released in my own network, TV8, because that was the network that I was working for. And I've released also quite a few on YouTube that have been watched by quite a few thousands of people. So yeah, so there's two different aspects to it. So Amnesty International, I've done reporting for them. And I remember even going to the job interview with them and talking to them. I was like, look, guys, I've studied human rights. I'm a lawyer. I'm a presenter. I'm going to get this part. Literally, I was so cocky in the job interview, and they were like, we'll let you know. And then, yes, I did book the job, and it was so much fun. We filmed them in the studio, and it was a collaborative project where we would work on the scripts and how to make topics which are quite dark more lighthearted, let's say, for all audiences, for even kids to be able to, you know, listen to and learn about, for example, protests. You know, when we talk about protests, or we've done a thing about hashtags that have changed the world, you know, let's talk about hashtag Black Lives Matter, things as such. How do we make that a little bit more lighthearted? So I guess me as a presenter, I'm very comedic. I can be very silly. You know, at one point in one of the Amnesty International films we've done, I'm wearing like hats for a horse. I look like a horse, and then I'm changing clothes, and all of a sudden I've got like a bandana on my face, you know, I'm playing the drums. Like, we just done silly things to lighten up the mood. That was a lot of fun. Some of my documentaries are self-filmed. So, for example, I was in Vietnam and I had a camera, and I was on holiday from my TV reporting job. So my executives were like, you know what? Just make documentaries and we will release them on TV. So that's what I did. I was filming myself. I would find like a little kid. I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna give you $10. Just hold the camera right here, and I'm gonna say some stuff in a different language. So they would film me. Loads of different things happened in Vietnam, and I've done it also in Cambodia, in the temples. It was a lot of fun.
Something's coming through to me here that maybe, I don't know whether you picked up on it, that you are a natural actress. You've done this all your life. You had not just been given the title or been given, because everything you said, and we haven't even entered into the real acting roles, but everything you said, it's literally, I mean, look, horses. It takes somebody who wants to enter into somebody else's world and wants to create that message, because that's what you were doing. You wanted it to be lighthearted. You knew it was a serious topic, but you were able. So you were role playing. You were actually acting without even knowing. Interesting.
You are listening to Unleash Your Creativity with Omashola, showcasing creativity in its many dimensions.
This is where I've kind of got to know you a bit more. And I say a bit more because there's more to you than the bit that I know. And that's to do with acting. You've told us a little bit about how you've done bits of, but how did serious acting start for you? And before you answer, I just want to kind of you've talked about your Red Dwarf experience, but you've also appeared in 20 plus films where you are or have been the lead actress, contrary to what was said. Tell me more.
Oh, where do I start? So acting is an interesting journey. It's a very, very competitive industry. You have to have really tough skin, because I tend to audition audition for films, commercials, and TV series every week, at least twice a week. So every week I'm getting rejected. It's a lot on an actor's self-confidence. If you don't have tough skin, you're going to give up. I've been a professional actress for 8 years. I'm not an A-lister, though I should celebrate this moment. This week I'm on number 14,000 on the IMDb.
Woo!
So if we put, thank you. I started at 3 million with my first credits.
Wow.
Yes. So IMDb is a platform where you have all the film people, from actors to film directors to lighting technicians. So this goes from like Brad Pitt to Leonardo DiCaprio to a no name in some other country. And being in the top 10,000 is really important for the film industry. And I'm at 14,000, which is
very close. Pretty close. Pretty close. Well
Very
done. We celebrate. I celebrate you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's been an interesting journey. I feel like my time is yet to come. I've been on really, really big film sets with A-listers, and I've also been an independent project with no names. And I love every single part of my journey equally. It's just as important. So yeah.
Now, as a novice and somebody that's just joining your world, I know you have films. And before I even ask that, you said you've done 20 plus. Anyone in particular stand out? I know you said that, and I was going to ask the question, you love all of them, but because each of them will have their own different story that comes with it, whether challenging, whether exciting, or whatever that emotion is, or maybe just sheer hard work. What do you want to just give me? People are thinking, oh, you know what? I want to go and check out one of those 20 films. Do you want to name a couple of them?
Yes. So we have a brand new release, Future Soldier, available on Amazon, Apple TV, Google TV, iTunes. Go out there. You can rent it. You can buy it. That is a sci-fi feature film where I play a former detective cop, Zoe Cass. I do lots of action, martial arts, you name it. I'm, going crazy. It's like a love story to cyberpunk, pretty similar to the 80s cyberpunk era. If you like those kind of vibes, if you like action, I'd say go watch.
I've got it in my watch list. I just wanted the perfect moment to sit down because you sent me. Yeah. So I'm definitely going to be watching that.
Yay!
Yes, definitely. Any other?
I'm sure a lot of people who are listening to this, if they're based in Britain, they've seen me in a lot of commercials. Now, if we were to go back to that, this is what usually happens. I'll be like with a friend and be like, what have you been in? And I'll show them a commercial. They're like, was that you? Was that? Oh my God. Like, we have those moments. And when a commercial is out, like sometimes I'll be in the tube and someone will be staring at me and be like, I've seen you before. I'm like, you might have. I get those moments. People don't realize who I am, but they'll be like, I've seen you before somewhere. There was a massive viral commercial for Sky, actually, where with my phone in my hand and I'm just getting out of the car, I close the door of the car and my skirt gets caught.
Whoa.
And then I'm literally left in my panties in the middle of the street. And we filmed this in broad daylight with like literally as a prank, as a real prank. A lot of people are surrounding. The cameras were hidden in the bushes. So they were filming people's real reactions to me being left without a skirt. And why was I left without a skirt? Because I was checking my phone and I was ready to watch Sky, my next favorite TV show. Everybody's like gasping and screaming and people are running after me. They're like, oh my God, you left your skirt. And I'm just like, I don't care. I don't care.
It's Sky.
Yeah. So I'm watching TV on my phone.
And because some people use stage name, you just use you. So we can.
No, I have a stage name.
You have a stage name. Okay.
Yasmine Alice is my stage name.
It's your stage name. Okay. Well, I'll keep it at that then.
But this is a controversial topic that a lot of people who are going to listen to this are going to question why I did that. Because let's say British Shy is my name. So my real name is Turkish, which is Yasemin İşcan.
Okay.
And I thought, okay, people are struggling to say my name. They're struggling to write my name. I'm going to make it a bit more British. Now, this is controversial because a lot of people are going to be like, why didn't you keep the original? You should be proud of who you are. You should be this. You should be that. No, I want people to just say Yasmine Alice and that's that.
And it's working. It is working. It is working. Now, you also made your way to the West End. 2019. You were a lead actress in the play called Tangled.
Yes. Wow. That was a fantastic, fantastic experience. roller coaster of emotions. So Raina Campbell is a theatre director, actress, business mogul, extraordinaire woman who asked me straight up to be the lead star of her play. The show was about a woman. So my character, she was a single mother with this man who has found a new girlfriend. You know, she's a bit more ghetto, she's a bit more lower class, rageful, a lot of long monologues. It's a long play. I'd never done theater before. I've never done a play before. So I was like, wow, like I'm being offered the lead of a play. How am I going to do this? I'm not a trained actor. You need to be a trained actor. You need to go to Lambda or RADA to be able to be in West End. But I was breaking the mold. I was like, okay, I'm going to do the best of what I can do. I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to memorize my lines and I'm going to smash it. And I did. I was so proud. I was, just before I went up on stage, I was dying. I was trembling like a leaf. I was like, this is the scariest moment of my life. The moment I hit the stage and I was in front of the audience, I was like, I love this. I never want to come down. I want to be on stage all day, every day, just crying, screaming, having a physical fight. Like, it was just so good. It was an amazing emotional roller coaster of a journey.
And that tells me that there are people doing things that doesn't give them that fulfillment, doesn't give them that energy. And if not for you just giving it a go, then you may have risen up the scales as a corporate lawyer, but you would never know what this excitement may have brought and is bringing and continues to bring. And that really has allowed or created the opportunity for you to have won a couple of awards. And I use that word very, I say a couple, just to be a bit modest here. Do you want to share some of your highlights there?
Oh yeah, I've quite a few awards.
I know.
So I've got this fake Oscar that I bought from eBay. It's like a replica of an Oscar. And I had put this on a little shelf in my house. And then now, next to that, I have my actual awards and my certificate, and I'm actually looking forward to winning an Oscar one day, or a BAFTA, or whatever universe might bring on my path. But, you know, it's fun, even though they're not an Oscar. For example, I won Best Female Actress in Istanbul Film Festival. Wow. And got my little, well, not little, it's just like golden award. And I'm just like, you know, you little sculpture thing, and it's just really exciting. Firsts are always the most exciting,
and it's a build up, and it's practice. I mean, from where you were to where you are now, a lot of practice, perfection. So when you take that stage to take the Oscar, you're ready, you're prepared, you've done, and you did it. So I'm looking forward to that.
You are listening to Unleash Your Creativity with Omashola. Showcasing creativity in its many dimensions.
I'm just going to go into what you're doing now. And you are the founder of Bastet Productions. And to date, it says you've produced 10 short films and 10 documentaries. You have secured television distribution for one of your short films and 8 of your documentaries. Wow. You are now moving on to feature films and officially in pre-production of 2. Mm-hmm. Is there rest in your dictionary? Does the word rest exist? But you know what? Before you unpack that, I just wanted to say it's been an absolute journey, working alongside you and seeing what this part of your life and what you do, and more intrigued about what's happened before. But, the film that I was privileged to work with you on set, to be there, to be around, was The Interpreter. Before that, I was the associate producer. Let me say that again. I was the associate producer of The Truckman as well as with The Interpreter. And I think I've moved up the rank because with The Truckman, I just came to the debut. For The Interpreter, I got a part. So unpack as much as you want regarding your new company, what you've done, and The Interpreter as you want.
So Bastet Productions, I've kind of fallen into this journey of producing as a surprise as well. So this is where it is another cute story. It was lockdown and I just thought, you know what? I want to make a film for me. I'm bored. There's not many jobs and I wanted to write a story where people could relate. I wrote about my journey with mental health. I used to suffer from anxiety and panic disorder, and I thought a lot of other people can too. Now, I have a YouTube series talking about my mental health journey as well, and they have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of views on YouTube, where I present to a niche Turkish audience, which is probably the reason why a lot of people could relate. But I thought making a film about this was really important. Now, I didn't have a lot of money to make this film, the very first one called Anxious. And, you know, I didn't know the right crew. I just thought I'm going to get my friends. I'm going to make a film in my flat. And that film won so many awards. That film attracted so much attention because it was honest about mental health. It was, you know, it was very heartfelt. It wasn't fake. It wasn't me pretending to be this or that. It wasn't me trying to gain other people's attention. It was just a true, honest review of what it was like to suffer from anxiety. And then on that, I was like, okay, well, you know, I've done everything. So I guess I'm also the producer. You know, I didn't realize I was the producer, but I was like, I've gotten everyone together. I've hired the kit. I've done this. I've done that. I guess that means I'm a producer. And then after that, I got offered to do another short film. I got offered to produce another short film and I wasn't going to act in it. And when I was on set, I was like, you know what? I absolutely love producing just as much as I like acting. And me coming from a lawyer background, me being this, you know, I'm a very nerdy, I'm a very organizational, very dominant boss energy person. And it really, really fit with producing. I would go as far to say I'm much better of a producer than I am an actress. And then I realized my true passion and my new business model of how I want to pursue in my career. I look at Adam Sandler. I look at Will Smith. These are producers. These are executive producers who make films for themselves. And they have found the right business model. They hire the same crew, even sometimes the same cast. You know, we even look at like Will Ferrell. They just found the right niche for themselves, making similar projects and similar films year after year after year. If anybody else offers me a role, great. I will also take on that opportunity, which is also what Adam Sandler does. But in the background, he's always working on his own project. And I love that.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. I was going to ask you a question, which somehow I know the answer to one of it, but you know, looking at the interpreter, I remember how that, because my question really was, how do you get inspiration to write, and where does your inspiration come from? And I witnessed that when we were celebrating your colleague, your friend. He wears different hats, which is Andrea Catanilla, and it was his birthday, and it was a round table conversation. And before I knew it, you sent a script going, this is it. So, you know, this is our conversation. And that's translated into a script. So again, the writer hat that you wear. So my question is that how all inspiration comes for you, or they're different depending on what's happening?
So Andrea is my business partner. He's also a film director and writer himself. I think we do sit down and talk about what we can make a film about. We brainstorm. The interpreter, however, is based on true events, which is again my story, because in the beginning of my acting journey, I wasn't making enough money coming from like, you know, a lawyer background. And I took a job as an interpreter for the government. So I was working in hospitals. I was working in police stations, courts, you name it. I've done it. And I've experienced a lot of different things as an interpreter, a lot of trauma. So for those that don't know, so basically for all the Turkish people that come to this country, but do not learn the language of English, they're going to need help when they go to the doctor. They're going to need help when they go to therapy. So an interpreter is called in by the government and paid by the government to help those individuals, to help those Turkish nationals who don't speak English. And this happens with every other language as well. So through that, I have had many, many experiences. And it was Andrea's birthday, and it was me, you, Andrea's other friend, and Andrea himself. And we were just talking about, you know, my journey as an interpreter. And you were like, okay, like I remember you were saying, we're looking at it from the perspective of the interpreter, looking at it from the perspective of the doctor and the perspective of the patient. There's just so many, you know, points of view in this film film that is not touched upon. The Interpreter, I think, is a special story because not many people know what it's like to be an interpreter. Not many people know what it's like to be an overworked, exhausted NHS doctor. And not many people know what it's like to be, for example, a patient in a psychiatric ward who's permanently there. What is it like? What does it feel like to be them? And this is what happens with filmmaking. You get to have a window into those people's lives that you wouldn't normally been able to experience.
Yeah, and that's why I started from the very beginning that you're somebody who has, I use the word legally, the opportunity, the ability, the capability to enter into different worlds legitimately and draw out a story from the very different hats. So whether it's being doing a documentary, whether it's a film, whether it's producing, whether it's writing, all those elements, you have that opportunity not to just sit on it, complain, but to actually do something and make a difference. And I think that is really, really powerful. That's really powerful. Now, I normally do something I call Did You Know? Because there was so much to talk about with you, I could not do that. But there's one question I'm going to ask you, which I ask all my guests. And because it's a creative show, what does creativity mean to you? How do you define creativity in your world?
Creativity for me means uniqueness and also providing opportunities to those stories which are untold but should be told. Wow. I'm very passionate about this because there's so many people in the world. Of course, everybody wants to open the TV and watch a love story between two hot people, or people want to see the story of a muscular man who comes and saves the world, which is America. The guy saves America. Great. But also there are a lot of stories which are untold in different countries, in places where people are just not aware. I want to tell those stories. That's creativity for me. And one thing that I'm really, really passionate about is diversity in casting. I want to tell those untold stories with diversity in casting. And if you've been on my film sets, I'm very passionate about having different ethnicities, different accents.
And you've given me a really rich definition of creativity. My final question, I can't believe it's my final question. It's a what next, but on the back of the what next, I hear that you're going to a Cannes film festival. What does that mean? What do we expect? And what are you expecting?
I'm going to be doing my first feature film soon. That's the goal. That's the aim. I want to do feature films. I want them to be in cinemas. I want them to be on Netflix, TV, you name it. I want to make it happen. So let's see where life takes us.
Absolutely. And one thing I know that you have is that you have drive, you have purpose, and you do not let a good opportunity pass you by.
You have been listening to Unleash Your Creativity with Omashola, showcasing creativity in its many dimensions.